Sophia sat at her desk, contemplating her next move.
Maybe I should just say I stayed up all night writing and I'm not feeling well.
By the time she finished typing and sent her manuscript to their editor, it was already past 2 a.m. The next morning, as she dragged herself out of bed to attend their group meeting, she noticed everyone giving her strange looks.
What's going on?
Prompted by their hints, she opened their group chat. The file named The Domineering Senior Falls for Me almost blinded her. And right then, the protagonist of the novel, the domineering senior himself, Ethan, was sitting directly in front of her with a dark expression.
Sophia, seriously, if you had just changed our senior's name in the novel, this wouldn't be so awkward now.
It's my fault. I shouldn't have been lazy and used his name just because it sounded nice.
Judging by Ethan's expression, he must have already read her masterpiece. At this moment, Sophia could only comfort herself. After all, life is quite short. Short or not, she couldn't continue this meeting. During the break, under everyone's gaze, she pretended to be unwell and quickly left. Lying on her dorm bed, Sophia looked at the links to her novels that everyone had found under her pen name and shared in the group chat.
Have you conquered Senior today? What to do when Senior loves me too much? The doctoral Senior is a puppy.
And then rumors started spreading that she had a crush on Ethan. She quietly called her mom.
Mom, if I'm not happy, can I drop out of graduate school?
Happiness or your legs? You can only keep one.
Sophia chose her legs. But she still didn't dare face Ethan, so she asked Emily to help her find a way to take a few days off. When Emily came back at noon, she threw a box of ointment at Sophia.
Hemorrhoid cream.
Where did you get this?
Michael heard you were sick and gave it to me.
Michael, the acknowledged loudmouth of their project group. Thanks to him. And thanks to Emily, the lunatic.
I asked you to help me take a leave of absence with a reason that would keep me bedridden, and you said I had hemorrhoids.
Sophia couldn't keep avoiding Ethan forever, so Emily said she had a solution. She heard that the professor had an internship project that needed 2 students to help.
I'm in.
Such a great opportunity, she'd be a fool not to take it. On the morning of departure, she woke up unusually early, even put on some makeup, and was eagerly looking forward to a fresh start. Halfway through the trip, when another student got in the car, she sincerely bowed her head, respectfully extended her right hand for a handshake, determined to make a good impression on the student she would be working with for the next 2 weeks. Then she looked up and saw Ethan. Let's just say, she really shouldn't be in this car right now. Not even under it. After getting in the car, Ethan closed his eyes to rest. Of course, he might just be ignoring her. After all, someone as serious and reserved as him being portrayed in various ways in her novel and shared among everyone, if it were her, she wouldn't be happy either. Sophia took out her phone and messaged Emily on WeChat.
Sis, didn't you check who the other student was?
You didn't ask me to.
Emily, you are truly my ancestor. To ease the awkward atmosphere, Sophia kept looking at her phone, trying to hide her trembling heart. It turned out that their project base was in a remote area, and the ride was extremely bumpy. Then, she got carsick. As luck would have it, when she couldn't hold back and needed to vomit, her window got stuck and wouldn't open. She had no choice but to tap Ethan awake and ask him to help her open his window.
Could you please help me open your window? Mine's stuck.
After she finally finished, she realized she was leaning her entire upper body on Ethan. And his face didn't look good. Great, now she wasn't just taking advantage of him in the novel.
My window got stuck and wouldn't open.
As soon as she finished speaking, the driver in the front seat reached over and pressed the button for her window. The window slowly rolled down. Along with it went her dignity for the day.
To be honest, given the current situation, even I wouldn't believe that I didn't do it on purpose. If things continue like this, I doubt I'll make it to the end of the project.
When they arrived, Sophia looked at the project space, which was quite rudimentary. She finally understood why Emily said no one had signed up for this project for days. And the most important thing was, they thought 2 guys were coming, so they arranged a 2-bedroom apartment for Ethan and her. Given the current situation, putting Ethan and her in the same place felt like throwing her into a frying pan.
That evening, I called Emily to talk about the day's events.
Take it easy, and if you can't, fight back.
Then you come and switch places with me.
Goodbye.
Sophia hung up the phone, swearing that she would settle the score with Emily when she got back. Just then, Ethan knocked on her door, calling her for dinner. Since it was their first day here, even though the conditions were relatively tough, the person in charge insisted on formally inviting them to dinner. As Sophia was about to reach for the spicy dish in front of her, Ethan moved it away.
You can't eat spicy food.
I can't eat spicy food? Why can't I eat spicy food?
Aren't you just recovering from an illness?
Sophia suddenly remembered the embarrassing issue she had. How awkward. She felt that the misunderstanding between Ethan and her was quite deep. And this deep misunderstanding was clearly affecting the fragile bond between them. On the way back, she tried to explain her illness to Ethan. Whether he believed her or not, she didn't know, but on the dark and uneven dirt road, she twisted her ankle due to her overly enthusiastic hopping.
Do you need me to carry you?
No.
But as soon as she took a step, the pain was unbearable. She had no choice, but she swore, even though she did want to take advantage of this, it wasn't intentional. Maybe it was because she was too tired today, or maybe Ethan's shoulder was just that comfortable and reassuring. She fell asleep on Ethan's back without realizing it, and when she woke up, they were already home. She thought that if she woke up now, she'd have to face this awkward situation, so she pretended to stay asleep.
Stop pretending, we're home.
Sophia slowly opened her eyes.
Sophia, were you doing this on purpose?
Me?
She suddenly remembered a scene from her novel where the female protagonist, who is her, pretends to twist her ankle and falls asleep to get closer to the male protagonist during a trip. The male protagonist then carries her back to her room, helps her take off her coat, and then they have an intimate moment. Given the current situation, Ethan must think she's acting out her novel, right?
I'm innocent. Senior, I really did twist my ankle. Look if you don't believe me.
To prove her innocence, she jumped up from the sofa and hopped.
Huh? Why doesn't it hurt anymore?
Turns out it was just a minor sprain, and it healed after a bit of rest. But Ethan's face looked even worse. She didn't think he'd ever been this speechless in his life. She apologized as quickly as she could and retreated to her room, knowing that Ethan probably didn't want to see her right now. Fortunately, the project's workload kept them busy, and they rarely had time to be alone, so there was no room for awkwardness. For the first time in her life, Sophia found herself loving work. Honestly, if it were convenient, she'd consider living in the office. On the weekend, with Ethan finally out of the house, she happily watched TV in the living room. When Ethan returned, she quickly retreated to her room, hoping the distance would ease the awkwardness between them. Back in her room, she opened her laptop and stared at the half-finished project, feeling lost.
With Ethan around, why are you worried about the project?
Don't even mention it. You can't understand the situation I'm in right now.
If you ask me, just talk to Ethan and have him add your name to his project.
Huh. Getting him to add my name to his project is as likely as getting him to add my name to his family register.
Pfft.
Not a hallucination. Sophia clearly heard the sound of someone spitting water in the living room. Curious, she stepped out and saw Ethan wiping his mouth, with her enlarged WeChat chat window displayed on the living room TV.
Great! Compared to my research project and household registration, I think my name is more suited to appear in the Grim Reaper's diary right now.
Ethan's face was a bit red. She couldn't tell if it was from choking on water or from anger, and she didn't dare to ask.
I heard you want to be on my household registration.
What kind of comprehension is that? I clearly said that getting my name added to your research project was even harder than getting on your household registration.
Senior, I really don't have any improper thoughts about you right now.
If she did before, it doesn't count. She was talking about now.
Then your novel.
Aren't novels all fictional? I just thought your name sounded nice. Besides, apart from the name, which part of my novel is true?
For some reason, Ethan's expression seemed to worsen. But he didn't continue to press the topic and even showed concern for her.
Are you having trouble with your research project?
Blind!
That huge screen, those big letters, didn't he see it all? But I still nodded obediently. Yes, I'm having a bit of trouble.
Bring it over, let me take a look.
What? Did she hear that right? The usually strict and meticulous Ethan actually offered to help her with her research project. To be honest, when she used her senior's name in her novel, it was partly because it sounded nice, but mainly because she admired his looks. Especially in this scene, with him seriously looking over her research project, the warm sunlight streaming through the glass onto his face, adding an inexplicable charm to his already stunning features. They were so close that she could see the tiny hairs on his face. What should she do? A terrible thought popped into her head. She wanted to kiss him.
Sophia, what are you thinking?
Thinking about kissing you.
Great, her brain was misled by his beauty. How did she accidentally blurt out her thoughts? Ethan seemed unable to believe his ears, his face filled with confusion, puzzlement, and melancholy as he looked at her.
I mean, thinking about how you're helping me with my project on a weekend, I'm really touched. I've decided to cook for you today.
After saying that, she quickly dashed to the kitchen and frantically told Emily everything that had just happened.
Emily, what should I do? If this keeps up, I'm really beyond saving.
Seize the opportunity, just go for it.
I'm scared.
What are you afraid of? Believe in yourself, you can do it.
Probably encouraged by Emily's blind support, she felt a surge of boldness.
You're right. If worse comes to worst, I'll use my charm. I'm really a clever one.
The clever one stepped out of the kitchen only to realize that she had only closed the WeChat page on her phone earlier but forgot to turn off the TV screen. Here we go again. Ethan saw her chat with Emily once more. Great. Ethan watched her with an amused expression.
Hey, leaving the TV on is a bit wasteful, not very eco-friendly.
Then she calmly turned off the TV.
I've figured it out. What am I afraid of? I've already lost all my dignity, so I might as well be brave and openly express my feelings. I don't believe he can do anything to me.
Turns out, Ethan can. He took her laptop and marked up her research project, which she had worked on for half a month, from start to finish. Let me put it this way, according to Ethan's marks, she needed to revise everything except her name.
Ethan, are you doing this on purpose? I don't believe my research project is completely worthless.
The handwriting is neat.
She typed it in a neat font on the computer, and he said her handwriting was neat. Insult. This guy is definitely insulting her. She was furious but didn't dare to speak out, so she turned her back and complained to Emily.
What should I do? I really want to make him cry.
Sister, you can do it. Go! Make him beg you.
Ha 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 ha.
Making Ethan cry, just thinking about it is thrilling. But Ethan's expression didn't look good. She had a bad feeling and cautiously peeked at the computer. The WeChat pop-up on the computer screen was displaying the ha 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 message she had just sent.
If I say that the he Emily and I were talking about isn't you, would you believe me?
As soon as she finished speaking, Emily replied, I really want to see what Ethan looks like when he cries. Great. She thought she could start planning her farewell party now. At the very least, Emily must sit at the main table.
How do you plan to make me cry?
Anna glanced at the heavily marked up project.
If I told you I was trying to make you cry, would you believe me?
Ethan probably did believe it, as he continued to revise her project. But honestly, Anna had no motivation to make any changes at that point. However, she had no choice. After all, she was under his roof and had already offended him. Besides, if her project couldn't pass Ethan's scrutiny, her professor would likely give her a hard time as well. Under Ethan's guidance, she diligently made corrections. By the third time Ethan shook his head at her, she couldn't hold it in any longer.
I'm exhausted. Do whatever you want, I'm done making changes.
Ethan paused, then nodded knowingly.
True, even if you can't complete your project, fail your finals, and don't graduate, you don't need to worry. You can always write novels, right? No need to worry about future employment.
Anna sighed. Ethan was indeed a perfectionist. He was so meticulous that he would point out even the smallest punctuation errors in her project and make her correct them. Eventually, she got so tired that she started to slack off a bit. She didn't even know when she fell asleep on Ethan's arm. But she dreamt of gnawing on a pork knuckle.
Ow!
Anna woke up to see teeth marks on Ethan's arm and his furrowed brows. She thought she was done for. Of course, with his help, the project was finally completed. Considering he stayed up late to help her, and she repaid him by biting him, Anna would be mad too if she were in his shoes. So, when she saw 2 prepared breakfasts on the living room table the next morning, she fell into deep thought.
I figured one of them definitely wasn't for me.
Ethan came out of his room after getting ready.
Don't forget to eat breakfast.
Hallucination? Anna touched the sandwich. It was real? After Ethan left, she carefully put the sandwich he made into her pocket. It's not that she couldn't bear to eat it, she was genuinely afraid he had a reason to harm her now. Even though her life was awkward, she didn't want it to end just yet. After a busy morning, Anna returned to the office to find a puppy eating the sandwich she had left on the table. Though it pained her, at least it proved Ethan hadn't poisoned her. But she couldn't eat it anymore. She took the half-eaten sandwich to find the puppy. While she was feeding it, Ethan's legs appeared in front of her. Her gaze traveled up Ethan's long legs to his handsome but stern face. Her hand holding the sandwich trembled, and the puppy ate even more eagerly.
Senior, if I said I couldn't bear to eat your thoughtful gesture, would you believe me?
Not bearing to eat it and giving it to a dog instead. Honestly, even the Grim Reaper wouldn't believe that. Anyway, Ethan ignored her and turned to leave.
How can I make it up to Ethan if I have upset him? Offer yourself to him.
Anna wished she could. But would that really be compensation for Ethan? It would be more like a reward for her. That evening, to show her sincerity, she prepared a table full of dishes for Ethan when he came back.
Senior, I was wrong today. Look, I worked hard to prepare this meal. Can you please forgive me?
Did you make this yourself?
Of course.
Next time you cook, remember to clean up the takeout bags at the door.
Ethan. Such a sly guy. He knew she had ordered takeout and still asked knowingly. But it seemed he wasn't too mad anymore since he could still tease her.
I promise I won't upset you again. If it comes to that, I'll try to wake up early and come back late to avoid you as much as possible.
Ethan frowned and glanced at her.
You think that's why I'm upset?
Then what is it?
Come here.
I cautiously leaned my head over, thinking he was going to hit me. What's wrong?
Gently wipes the food crumbs from the corner of Sophia's mouth.
When Ethan's fingers touched my cheek, I felt a jolt of electricity. What just happened?
In your novel, didn't I wipe your mouth like this? Or perhaps.
He slowly leaned his head closer to mine, and just as he was about to kiss me, I jumped up in fright. Oh no, Ethan has lost it. Realizing this made my head ache. Ethan is the youngest PhD in our department and the most outstanding student our dean has ever admitted, as he personally acknowledged. And now, I've driven him mad. I felt my name would be etched on the pillar of shame in our department, never to be erased.
Stay away from Liam from now on.
Why should I stay away from him? Liam is a nice guy. He even said he'd treat me to dinner today.
Sophia, can't you use some of that brain power you use for writing novels in real life?
What did I do? But just as they say, speak of the devil and he shall appear. Before Ethan and I could finish our conversation, Liam called to invite me for a walk. Before I could refuse, Ethan turned and threw the laptop on the table at me.
You can't sleep until you finish the internship report.
I have to write my internship report. Maybe another time.
Another time? Why would a girl go for a walk with a guy late at night?
Me? I didn't even go. Besides, why was Ethan so angry? He never raised his voice like this before, even when I upset him. Fortunately, Ethan didn't argue further and went back to his room. I obediently stayed in the living room, working on my internship report. When I got frustrated, I listened to music while writing. When I had almost finished the outline of my report, I took off my headphones and stretched. I felt something unusual at my fingertips. Frowning, I poked it again to be sure.
What? Is it as you imagined?
I turned around. Oh no. I had just touched Ethan's abs. I looked at Ethan's slightly open bathrobe, revealing his tempting abs. Water droplets still dripped from his hair. His nose was slightly red, probably from just taking a shower. I'm doomed. My face felt like it was about to explode.
Have you finished?
Seriously, at a time like this, he was still concerned about the internship report? Didn't he feel awkward after I just touched his abs? Had he become so thick-skinned because of me? Or was he immune to me? Ethan's cold hand reached for the mouse, and when he accidentally touched my fingertips, I almost jumped out of my seat. He looked at my data seriously, making me feel like I was overreacting. But we were so close that I could even smell the pleasant scent of his shower gel. Maybe sensing my distraction, Ethan turned to look at me. Our eyes met. I felt like 100 little bunnies were dancing in my heart. Ethan's gaze was unbelievably gentle. Even more unbelievable was that he seemed to be leaning closer to me. Just as we were about to touch, I snapped out of it. I quickly retreated to my room, narrowly avoiding a big mistake. When I told Emily about this later,
Sophia, you have a kind of pure foolishness.
Me? If you have something to say, say it. No need for personal attacks.
Sophia, have you ever thought that maybe Ethan likes you?
Impossible. He's not crazy. But then again, maybe. Because when I woke up this morning, Ethan had not only prepared breakfast, but was also waiting to go to the office with me.
when I got to the office and was about to explain to Liam why I was too busy yesterday, Ethan pulled me towards him.
Wait for me after work to go home together. Pat Sophia's head.
I was confused but very surprised.
You and Ethan?
Oh, we live together.
I realized after saying it that it might be easy to misunderstand. But it didn't matter. This internship project would end in a few days, and we wouldn't see each other again. Finally, when I got into the car for the return trip, I felt the air in the world was fresh.
Do you really want to go back?
Of course.
What's wrong? Did he get addicted to this remote place? But I was in a good mood today, so I didn't care much. When I was happily taking photos along the way, Ethan stopped me.
Still playing with your phone? Aren't you afraid of getting carsick?
I was.
I obediently put away my phone. The journey was so boring that I fell asleep in the sunlight. When I woke up, I was leaning on Ethan's shoulder. I opened my eyes and saw his chin. He had his eyes closed, and his long eyelashes made me want to grab them. Thinking about it, I felt a bit sad. Once we returned, we wouldn't have the chance to spend so much time together anymore, except for the occasional class he might teach us. In life, we would probably become two parallel lines with no intersection. But then again, he was like a star in the sky, meant to be high above. But I still wanted to touch his eyelashes. Before I could lift my hand, he woke up. This time, he didn't push me away but looked as if he was used to it. I nonchalantly stood up and remarked on the beautiful weather.
Isn't the weather lovely today?
Yes, the weather is indeed nice.
The school felt comfortable as always, but as soon as we entered, it seemed like everyone was looking our way. Ethan, being tall and handsome, naturally attracted a few admirers.
Ethan, is there something on my face?
No.
Sophia! I almost dropped my bag when Olivia suddenly called out to me loudly. Olivia, like Ethan, was a senior and a PhD candidate, radiating excellence. We usually kept to ourselves, so I wondered why she was so agitated to find me.
She's here to settle a score with you.
What are you doing here?
Just here to watch the show.
A show? I didn't understand what she meant until Olivia pulled out a stack of papers.
Sophia, you really have some nerve writing all these stories about Ethan.
As more people gathered and started passing around my stories, I knew I was done for.
Emily, can you lend me your hat to cover my face?
Sophia, calling it imagination is putting it nicely. It's more like harassment.
I wanted to throw a shoe at her face.
How could my innocent stories be considered harassment?
It's bad enough you wrote those stories, but you even schemed to intern with Ethan.
That's not true. It wasn't me.
It was me. I was the one who asked the professor to let Sophia join the internship project.
Really?
I can vouch for that.
Me? How did I not know about this?
And the content in those stories isn't just imagination. It's all true.
What? How did I not know about this either?
The stories even say you two have a child together.
Emily, please, just stop talking. The crowd buzzed with excitement, and Olivia's face turned green with anger.
What's wrong with Sophia turning our love story into a novel? Is that not allowed?
Of course, it's not allowed. Innocent Ethan held my hand and led me away under everyone's watchful eyes.
Ethan, have you read my previous stories?
Yes.
And you still said they were true?
Even if they're not true, it doesn't mean they can't become true.
Oh my, does he even know what he's saying? Back at the dorm, I sincerely asked Emily.
Do you think Ethan might actually be crazy?
Sophia, trust me, Ethan genuinely likes you.
You're crazy too.
When the professor called me to submit my internship report, he smiled at me in a way that gave me goosebumps. Seeing the stack of my stories next to his computer, I had my answer. Instead of blaming me, he offered his most sincere blessings.
After all this time, someone has finally managed to win over Ethan. As long as you're around, Ethan will stay and contribute to the Academy's research.
I felt like the world had gone mad. As I left, a particularly beautiful woman was waiting for me at the door.
Hello, I'm Ethan's mom.
We sat quietly in a cafe.
Here's 10,000.
No, that's too little.
Honestly, Ethan is such an outstanding person. Offering me $10,000 to leave him? What a joke. Besides, it's not like we're actually together.
How could my feelings for Ethan be measured by $10,000?
Ethan doesn't need to thank me. I just gave his mom a lesson, hoping she won't try to use money to drive away the girl Ethan truly likes in the future. I hope Ethan can be with the girl he likes without any pressure.
This is money for you to buy clothes.
Sorry, I've written too many novels. It's a professional habit.
Ethan's mom seemed even happier.
No wonder Ethan has liked you for so long. You really are an interesting girl.
What's going on? Why did she say that?
When they were about to leave, they ran into Ethan. His mom patted him on the shoulder.
Son, you have good taste.
Of course.
When Ethan invited me to dinner, I was a bit reluctant.
Now the whole school basically knows you're my girlfriend. You wouldn't want to back out, would you?
Wait, how did things escalate so quickly?
Ethan took out his phone and opened the school's forum. It was filled with links to her novels and videos of Ethan standing up for her today. Apparently, everyone was already shipping them like crazy.
Ethan, the thing is, this was all just a misunderstanding.
Then post a statement on the forum, saying I was lying and that your novels are just your imagination.
I was wrong.
From Ethan's upturned lips, it was clear he was quite satisfied with her willingness to admit her mistake. After dinner, he accompanied her for a walk.
Actually, Ethan, I know you're warm-hearted despite your cold exterior, but you don't have to put yourself through this.
She carefully explained.
After thinking it over, I realized that in this information age, people quickly forget things. Even though my novels are quite popular now, in a few days, people might not care anymore.
What are you trying to say?
I mean, Ethan, you don't have to force yourself to be with me.
Ethan moved closer to her, and she backed up until she was against a tree. Ethan stared at her.
I won't force myself. Being with you is something I want to do.
It was then that Sophia realized Ethan had liked her for a long time. So long that he couldn't even remember when it started. Maybe it was during the opening ceremony when everyone was having fun on the field, and she was in a corner feeding stray cats. Maybe it was when she accidentally left her novel document open on the lab computer, and he happened to see it. Or maybe it was just on that quiet afternoon when she was dozing off in the lab. Or perhaps it was when the summer breeze lifted her hair. Love arises with the wind, unnoticed by the wind itself. Later, Emily told her that she had known about Ethan's feelings for her for a long time. But seeing her lost in her own world every day, she could only worry in silence. That night, the moonlight was beautiful.
So, Sophia, do you really want to be with me?
Of course, I'm not stupid.
Did you really think that every time I wrote Ethan's name in my novels, it was just because it sounded nice?